First things first, thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm Prithvi Shankar, one of the founding members of Hyperloop India, if any of you have heard. So we were a team back on campus a couple of years back. So we started back in 2015 in Pilani. Right. So, quick acknowledgement. Firstly, thanks Bitsa for this amazing opportunity to stand before you all here and present what has been our journey, our key takeaways, what our learnings have been, and describe the entire journey in detail. Before I get to that, a couple of key callouts. Firstly, I wish to express on behalf of the entire team, our gratitude towards all the students, members, advisors, faculty members who were with us, who supported and guided us throughout the entire endeavor. Secondly, we also like to assert the key role that a lot of our partners and sponsor organizations played in making this a reality. And their contributions were immense, and without them, we wouldn't have possibly built an entire Hyperloop prototype from scratch within a record 2.5 months. Last but definitely not the least, all the alumni, the BITSA, has been an amazing support system for all of us. And a lot of the alumni did help us throughout the journey in both in spirit and motivated us to keep pushing and do what we were doing, right? So just getting to what exactly the team did. So Hyperloop India is a multi-stakeholder consortium of student volunteers and organizations from transportation, infrastructure, technology, etc., who are interested in reinventing transportation in India. And the origins of which can be traced back to the hostel rooms in Pilani. So founded back in 2015 as BITS Hyperloop, we were the only fully funded team to get invited to SpaceX for Hyperloop, the design weekend for the Hyperloop at Texas A&M University in the US. And eventually we expanded to a 60-member team that constituted of the best minds from all three BITS Pilani campuses, IIM Ahmedabad and ISB. We were also fortunate to be mentored and supported by a lot of experts in transportation, logistics, infrastructure, and data from organizations like Virgin Hyperloop One, L&T, Invest India, RITES, Niti Aayog, and DP World. As primarily a student collaboration, our plan was to leverage our performance in global prize incentive competitions to create a sort of competitive impulse that would essentially aid in bringing the Hyperloop to India, right? So now, what exactly is the Hyperloop? So the Hyperloop was sort of envisioned to be the fifth mode of transport, as proposed by Tesla SpaceX CEO Elon Musk back in 2015. The idea is to enable passengers and cargo travel at speeds of more than 700 miles per hour across cities. And this would sort of enable people to live in one city and work in another, right? Now, this high-speed transportation system involved a series of pods traveling through evacuated tubes, right, at close to the speed of sound, making it one of the most exciting technological interventions of our time. Right? To accelerate the development of this technology, SpaceX built a 1-mile long test track in front of their headquarters in the US, in Hawthorne, California. You can see a picture there. And invited student teams from across the world to present designs, which would then be vetted by SpaceX engineers. And then a lot of teams would then go on to build the pod and then race it on this test track. Right? Now coming to our objective, right? So imagine a world where you can travel from Bangalore to Chennai in 30 minutes, or from Mumbai to Bangalore in about an hour. How amazing would that be? So we were trying to sort of lay the foundations for that, and our game plan was sort of threefold. One was to design and develop India's first indigenous, safe, scalable, and feasible Hyperloop pod prototype for the SpaceX competition. And secondly, we would also work towards formulating an economic transport, legal, and policy case study for such a technology to be implemented in India. And thirdly, and most importantly, in fact, our idea of implementing the Hyperloop involved creating a stakeholder ecosystem to bring on board the various players in infrastructure, transportation, public transport, etc., and make the project a reality in India. So, although personally we are not invested in the project, we have enabled a lot of key players to come together and slowly the project is taking shape with the help of L&T working with Hyperloop One, which is the US-based company that has they were the first ones to test the fully automated full-scale Hyperloop pod prototype. So like earlier, I was speaking about the prize incentive competitions that we took part in. So there were two. What started off as a team taking part in the SpaceX Hyperloop pod competition. We so it happened over a course of 1.5 years. The entire engineering effort. We started as a team of five from Pilani campus, and then went on to form a 40-member team from across all three campuses of BITS Pilani. And over the course of 1.5 years and various design reviews by engineers from SpaceX, Virgin Hyperloop wanted to open a global challenge, inviting companies and startups, student teams, anyone to essentially work on a feasibility case study for the Hyperloop, select a particular corridor and do a detailed analysis of the entire economic and technological feasibility, right? So our business team, which mostly comprised of postgraduate students from IIM Ahmedabad and ISB, did a wonderful job in building up this comprehensive feasibility study. So as you can see in this slide, our idea was to essentially connect Mumbai, Bangalore, and Chennai. So these are the three main economies, diverse cultures that we were trying to connect, and short circuit the entire the time taken to travel from the left side of the peninsula to the right. So this corridor is of really is of great importance when it comes to international trade. So this route could potentially reduce the travel time from 3 days to less than 3 hours, right? Now coming to the Hyperloop One Global Challenge. So as as one of the 10 teams who were announced as the winners of the Hyperloop One Global Challenge, we were able to partner with Hyperloop One, and they in turn they committed a lot of business and engineering resources, worked closely with us. In fact, they eventually went on to fund our efforts in the SpaceX competition and come on board as a title sponsor. So our submission essentially imagined the Hyperloop across the unique geography, right? This showed the slide previously. And following a close assessment of proposals submitted by almost 1,000+ teams, a panel of experts in infrastructure, technology, transportation, we were announced as one of the global partners of Virgin Hyperloop One. Now, what that meant was that we eventually, over the course of a year, we ended up working with them closely, enabled Hyperloop One as an entity to launch in India. So we enabled them to sign MOUs with the Maharashtra government and the Bangalore government. So while we were working on the Hyperloop pod, the entire team was based out of Bangalore, and throughout our efforts, we were eventually able to meet that reality. Now moving on to our engineering efforts, so we have Sairaj Khope who overlooked the entire manufacturing of the pod, so he can quickly describe the design and the manufacturing and the efforts that went behind it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sairaj. So I was, in the beginning, I was not the founding member. I joined about after the final design review. Basically, the round where we got selected as one of the 24 teams in the final. And once our journey was, we earlier had no idea. We were just students, third year, second year, third year students who were just introduced to this. Like a lot of the knowledge required to build things in parts of this pod were not there in our syllabus. So, like Awais here, who was a levitation systems head, he joined in second year. He had to learn the entire thing on his own, and eventually that became like our sort of winning USP in the final design. So, to the pod. So this pod was designed to be like scalable prototype, modular, bidirectional scalable prototype. So according to the competition rules, we were supposed to build this pod which would fit one adult person inside. So that's the dummy that you can see. And the pod was supposed to be bidirectional, as it can move in both directions. So the thing is, we didn't have any idea about manufacturing, or how to find people who knew how to sort of fit our requirements. So we had just conducted a lot of simulations, which were basically part of our theoretical education. So I think one of the most important conversations happened was with the Karnataka government and the Nama Metro organization in Bangalore, which basically how we got introduced to workbench projects. So workbench projects is this makerspace lab in Bangalore where we were based out of during the 2.5 months that we were in. The reason we chose Bangalore was because our team was not just, even though it was dominated by BITSians, it was not just made of BITSians. There were students from other colleges also, like St. Xavier's College, Bombay. There was like people from Symbiosis College. There were some people from RV College of Engineering also. Also in Bangalore was the only city where the manufacturing industry and the services industry were both prominent, and we could work together. So Workbench introduced us to Ripple Technologies and Miracle Electronics, these two companies. So Ripple basically supplied us with materials and did the entire construction of the structure and the body of the pod. And Miracle Electronics basically did our entire wiring, helped us with battery assembly, service propulsion, sensors, everything. So our main subsystems were software, electronics, levitation, braking, structures, and aerodynamics. So for our design, our main most important aspect of the design was our levitation design. So according to the competition rules, they had given basically the whole goal of the competition was that you have to build the fastest pod. But according to like our goals, personal goals, that we wanted to build a scalable pod, not just a pod that is faster, because our pod was a levitating pod which could not reach the speeds that would basically a running track car could achieve. So we ditched that goal. But we thought that whatever pod we design, it should be a very good design, and that this design in the future should be at least taken as the base for building bigger and usable prototypes. So this levitation system that was designed was in fact completely passive, and we used a system of arrangement of magnets called a Hallback array, which basically maximizes either lift or drag based on the arrangement. And we use the passive propulsion of the pod, which automatically helps the pod to levitate. So because of its simple design and very low power consumption, this is what SpaceX really liked, and this is how we got selected for the final competition. So we worked in these 3 locations. It was a very hectic thing because it was an impossible quest. 2.5 months we had to like start from scratch because we didn't have any resources in our institutes to actually manufacture any or test anything. So we sort of were building and improving the design at the same time. Lot of errors, but we finally at the end on August 18th we managed to bring the pod to SpaceX and we were able to present the design. So uh, we didn't. There were also certain tests that we had to do to in order to make sure that the pod actually reaches spaces, or else they wouldn't accept our design. So we had help from actually prominent people like uh, the ex-astronaut Rakesh Sharma. Rakesh Sharma himself helped us achieve get basically put us in touch with ISRO. ISRO helped us with vacuum testing and vibration testing for our batteries and electronics, which is like how we could actually go to the final stage. So I'm very thankful to people and stakeholders, all these people we met in Bangalore, and it was it was a very good learning experience because even though it was very hectic, when you try to work in like such a short span and try to achieve quite a bit, you end up doing everything yourself, and that's how you learn quite a bit. So I was like the head of electrical subsystems, but in the end I managed to learn some things about levitation, some things about magnetism, some things about manufacturing. Eventually, like in US, um, I was also there working with the people in my mechanical team, and we all shared a workload. So it was enlightening. So now I'll let Prithvi continue with some conversations about our partners and mainly our very famous crowdfunding campaign, which we overshot our goals, luckily. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sairaj. So this was the challenge, right? A year and a half of designing, sitting in our hostel rooms, working remotely across all three campuses, and finally getting that green signal from SpaceX. And then we looked at how do we actually bring this pod to life. So we decided we'll fly down to Bangalore during the summer. So we spent about 2.5 months. So that was the plan, right? After the semester, everyone would move back to move down to Bangalore, and we would work. But we did not have any of the resources that we required. We had a bunch of people who offered us space, a lot of raw materials, a lot of components. But on the whole, we required about close to 80 lakhs, according to the initial estimates, to drive this project through to completion. So I mean, we freaked out at that point. We had like barely 2 months to figure out how to get this cash in. Fortunately, I mean, over the months we were able to raise about 60 lakhs from corporate sponsors. A few of them are listed here. Many familiar logos here, Brazilian startups, Brazilian firms. A couple of them I'd like to mention. So, Reflexes has been a great partner, and Intrigo Systems, our SKF, Tombo Imaging. So all of these companies not just helped us monetarily, but their guidance and their motivation really helped us in connecting to other people who eventually played a crucial role, right? But eventually, I mean, once we were in Bangalore, we realized that our estimates were far from reality, and we realized that we needed an additional 30 lakh rupees to actually make sure that the team crosses the line and was able to make it to SpaceX. So around this time, so this was where we had conceived a crowdfunding campaign. So one of the BITSian alumni, he had suggested, why don't you guys start a campaign and reach out to BITSians across batches. I mean, there are about 60 years of BITS alumni. I'm sure they'd be able to chip in. And he was definitely right. Over the course, within the span of 1 month, and with the help of about 600 supporters and 600 donors and more than 16,000 supporters, we were able to raise 35 lakhs through this crowdfunding campaign. So I would just like to take a pause and play this video once. So this video essentially captures the crowdfunding campaign and what the objective was.
The world is on the brink of a new transport revolution. We've had cars, planes, trains, and ships. Everyone's promises to be the fifth mode of transport.
What internet with fiber optics has done is what Hyperloop is trying to do with transportation.
Essentially, what it is a system of pods traveling inside evacuated tubes using magnetic levitation propelled via leading electric motors.
The competition says that the fastest pod wins, so our plan was to build the fastest and lightest pod.
So SpaceX developed one mighty track. They invited student teams to come and build scale down prototype vehicles and race it on this track.
I mean, it's clear that the public and the world want something new, and I think you guys can bring it to them. So, congratulations.
We are the first and only team from India, and one of the two from Asia that has qualified to race our pod on this track.
The road has been laid. Now we are trying to define what the cars look.
We are building India's first functional powerless permanent magnet navigation system,
which essentially does not use any energy. So, apart from it's different from electromagnetic levitation.
Urban Project specifically is helping them to do the prototyping of the entire model, from the CAD design to a 3D printed model to a laser model to a copy of the model, to also start doing some preliminary testing of electronics. And once we have some of these knocked off, then we are trying to help them to do Kenya.
Students coming from Kiskelani, when they presented the Hyperloop presentation to me, it was quite interesting. Since this has a lot of machine components involved, a lot of manufacturing involved, so we are supporting them from the manufacturing.
Hyperloop India is a team of students from hobBITS, IMA, ISD, NID, NSIT, and over time it has gathered a lot of momentum and support.
With the Mission 350 Plus initiative, the Indian Railways is looking to bring technologies like the maglev into the country, especially Hyperloop One being the US-based company that is currently trying to sort of commercialize the Hyperloop in the rest of the world.
These students have got the chance to share to the entire nation. What has also added to our advantage is the government of Karnataka coming on board.
So backing us and supporting us is a very potent way to facilitate the nationalistic competitive advance and leapfrog transport in India.
Often India has been spoken about as and also stands out often as just frugal innovation. I think we always play with that, but today it's not just about that.
It's a self-pride for me, being an entrepreneur, supporting the students program.
We've had support from various corporates, but then now is the time to reach out to every individual, every Indian, every person who believes in Hyperloop technology and the innovation that can come from our own backyard.
Right. So now coming to the competition, the SpaceX competition, and how we utilized our 2 months in the US. Right. So I call Aves up. He headed the levitation subsystems, and he'll be speaking more about the SpaceX competition.
Hey everyone, I'm gonna keep this brief. So essentially, how it all started was Sibesh, the founder, was my senior at campus, and I happened to stumble across his room in my second year, and I saw the word Hyperloop written on the whiteboard. And following Elon Musk, I knew what Hyperloop was, and sort of became like the the second and third member of the team, and we went through the design process that Sairaj explained, and in 2.5 months in Bangalore actually managed to manufacture it. And that's when things got interesting. We managed to manufacture things here, but then we decided we would integrate them in the US where the competition was. So we took the pod to the US, and there were problems that came along the way that sort of made us learn more than what we would have learned and made the team more closer, you could say. Because one example is I was dealing with the levitation systems which had these very strong permanent magnets, and they were considered as hazardous material when shipping through aeroplanes, and they forgot to ship the documents along with it, so which delayed getting that by 7 days. So SpaceX had a series of 50 tests that you had to undergo to be able to get on the tube, and you couldn't do that because of these delays. But when you had these different components of the pod there and you're trying to put it together, we then realized that okay, it's not as simple as putting these different blocks and having that one entity. But the way the team brainstormed and went about the solutions, in the end we had a working Hyperloop pod prototype. I think that was sort of the biggest learning experience that we would have had. We were especially when in a series of 50 tests, obviously the SpaceX engineers came across the different booths and specifically told us that our electrical assembly and our levitation and braking system were very novel. Just that we could not be in the top 3 teams that went on to the tube to race there. I think essentially what Hyperloop India proves is that when a passionate, motivated group of individuals come together, and in this case it was students from hobBITS, Goa and Hyderabad initially, and then we brought on board other students from India. It was a very collaborative effort, and building something that had not been built at all before in 2.5 months, taking it and presenting it to someone like Elon Musk, that's like if you put your heart to it, you can essentially get that done. So thank you for that.